Roses and Thorns, Women at the Cross. It's Easter weekend. I'd like to invite you on an imaginary journey to the beginnings of that first Easter, when everything seemed to unravel. A promising life was ended, a unique person snuffed out in unthinkable agony. A tragedy few people expected, and within days, a once-in-the-world event that turned everything round like sunrise after the darkest of nights. We're going to watch this through the eyes of three women. This meditation was written for a group of women, but if you're a man, go on, for a little while, indulge your feminine side and have a listen. The events of the crucifixion touch on all of our lives. You might prefer to listen to it all in one go, or listen to one part at a time. You can relax, shut your eyes, maybe put some quiet music on in the background, or take a piece of paper and pencils and doodle whatever comes to mind. When you're comfortable, relax and let your imagination take you back 20 centuries and transport you to a rubbish dump in the Middle East, just outside Jerusalem, where a crowd have gathered to watch the executions. One of the three being crucified is Jesus. The Gospels tell us that a lot of women were there when Jesus was dying. When most of the apostles had scarpered, the women stayed. Sometimes all you can do is stay with someone when they're suffering. And if you can't be with them, you can be with them in prayer. Quite a few women were named in the Gospels. We're going to home in on just three of them. Let's imagine being each one in turn. Firstly, imagine you are Salome, the wife of Zebedee, mother of two of Jesus' disciples, James and John. You are probably also Jesus' aunt, his mother's sister. So it's possible you've known Jesus most of his life. But the real story starts about 3 years ago, when Jesus met your sons during a normal working day and called them away from the family business, away from their dad, to go on tour with him. How did that go down with you and Zeb? At some point, you also got involved. Jesus' popularity grew. He certainly was an amazing preacher, very simple, but very deep. And the stories grew and grew about the number of people he healed from all sorts of things. You came to realise that he was the Messiah everyone's been waiting for decades, centuries even. Imagine it, your nephew, the chosen one, and your sons, chosen by him. What mother wouldn't want their sons to get in on the glory? So at one point, you begged Jesus to make sure when he comes into his kingdom that your lads can sit next to him, one on each side of his throne. The perfect picture. When Jesus said that this wasn't his to give, did you glimpse a bit of a wry smile? And what did he mean when he said to James and John, "Can you drink the cup that I am about to drink?" Well, a few days ago, the time came for everyone to recognise the Messiah. Jesus paraded into Jerusalem as the coming king. What did it sound like, all the cheering? Strange, though, him riding on the back of a donkey, not a horse. Something didn't quite add up. Life doesn't always turn out how we expect. Today, you could say, he has received his crown. But it's not gold, not jewels, not a cheering, smiling crowd, but a jeering, sneering one. The spikes, forced onto his head, are drawing blood that seeps into his swollen eyes, and he can't even wipe it away. On his right and on his left, thank goodness, not your sons, just two common thieves. How does it feel when you hear him speaking to one of the thieves next to him and tell him, "Today you will be with me in paradise"? Is this Jesus in his glory? Your nephew, stripped naked, impaled and dying, completely humiliated? Where is God when the chips are down? Is this what the last 3 years have been leading to? How did it all go so wrong? What was it all about? Imagine now that you are Mary, Jesus' mother, watching your son struggling to breathe. What thoughts come to your mind? What memories? Of all your 5 sons and your daughters, Jesus, the oldest, has been the most radical, the most out of your control. He was the one who went missing on a trip to Jerusalem when he was about 12. Had you worried out of your mind and didn't even apologise. When he was 30, he left home and nearly starved himself to death out in the wasteland. Not that he wasn't a responsible person. After Joseph, your husband, passed away, Jesus stayed home for years, supporting you and his siblings and running the family business. He was a skilled craftsman, plenty of work going on in the nearby city of Sepharis, as well as in Nazareth where you all lived. Maybe you remember how he used to arrive home from work with sawdust on his clothes and the smell of wood around him. Did you think about all the washing? Did you feel proud of him? Now, you've heard the sound of the hammers, seen how the executioners are using the wood. How does it feel? Can you bear it? How much has your son changed, tapped into God's power, done amazing things, yet so tender and understanding with individuals, even with people that other people look down on. If only he'd not been so outspoken with the authorities. You tried to fetch him home a time or two. Did you long to protect him and keep him safe? Remember, Mary, the time in Egypt as a refugee when Jesus was only an infant. Even then, he had death threats. Even now, he's still your little boy. So vulnerable. But you can't pick him up and comfort him anymore. You can't do anything. How does that feel? Like any child, Jesus is yours, Mary, but never totally yours. Again and again you've had to let him go. He's always had bigger claims on his life. You said to the angel, "Let it be as you have spoken." Again and again, let it be. Do you remember the words, Mary, given you by the old man in the temple when he took your baby in his arms? This child is destined to be a sign that will be spoken against, so that the thoughts of many hearts will be revealed, and a sword will pierce your own soul too. Wait, Mary, he's saying something. All these hours watching, and Jesus has spoken just a little. Now he's talking to you, looking at you. Even through the blood in his eyes and the swelling and the spit from the soldiers, even through the gasping for breath, he's still there, your child. And he says, "Dear woman, here is your son." Was there a bit of a smile there? For the first time you notice your nephew John. Yes, he's actually there, standing just behind you. Like the rest of them, he'd run away, but he slunk back. Look at him, so young, hardly out of his teens, and he's seen so much. Son, here is your mother. There's Jesus taking the initiative again, full of surprises to the end, putting you and your nephew together, forming a new family. Even though you have other children and John's real mum is stood next to you, can you feel Salome squeezing your hand in understanding? Can you feel young John putting his head on your shoulder? Can you hear him sniffling? See him brushing tears away? Let's leave Mary and John there with Salome. Imagine now that you are a few paces away. No family with you. Imagine you are Mary Magdalene. We know that you come from Magdala in Galilee. We hear nothing of your family or any husband or children. You may be quite well off, a woman of means, as you've been providing for Jesus and his disciples. You've been going along with them since the day Jesus drove the demons out of you. What were those demons, Mary? How did they affect you? Where did they get in? Was it choices you made? Things you got involved in? Mental or physical illnesses, or something that happened to you? Did someone badly hurt you and the bitterness festered inside? And what was it like when the 7 demons left? A swarm of wasps flying at last out of a window? Or 7 bags of stinking rubbish removed from your house? Or maybe, was it like a group of squatters who were dominating your inner territory and finally left you alone? At last, you could be yourself again, all calm and clean and in order inside. Free to relate to people, to give yourself to work alongside Jesus in whatever ways you could. And now, this. The last few hours have turned everything on its head. You've watched Pilate dithering and finally bowing to the will of the crowd, manipulated by religious leaders into giving the death sentence. Jesus in the hands of thugs, beating him up, spitting on him, whipping him. You followed him up through the city, watched as he stumbled to the ground under the weight of the crossbeam on his shredded back. About midday, the sky grows dark. Like others who are being rescued from demon possession, maybe you are more sensitive to the spiritual realm than most people. Do you see, Mary Magdalene, the dark forms of demons drawn like a magnet to the cross? Over and over they come in their thousands, the foul smell of them mingling with the smell of blood and sweat, as if his physical suffering wasn't enough. As the hours go on, some of Jesus' words reach you through the crowd. Father, forgive them, because they don't know what they're doing. My God, why have you forsaken me? I'm thirsty. It is finished. Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. Saturday comes. The Sabbath, day of rest. Last night, you watched the dead body of Jesus taken down, wrapped up in linen and carried to a garden tomb. Was it a relief that his pain was over at last? Nothing else the thugs can do to him now. Such a mix of feelings and memories, like the spices you prepared last night. Were yours the only tears that dropped into the embalming mix? Sunday. You are first at the tomb, the other Mary a little later. It's cold, not quite light, but maybe you are calmed by the scent of blossom and dewy grass. What's happened? The tomb has been disturbed. The body isn't there. You run off to find the apostles. Peter and John come running. They peek inside. There are grave clothes, but no body. They go away, but you stay at the tomb and let the tears flow. Woman, why are you crying? They've taken my Lord away and I don't know where they've put him. Do you realise who you're talking to, Mary? That these people sitting inside the tomb are actually angels. You turn and see someone else standing there, maybe the gardener. Woman, why are you crying? Who is it you're looking for? You ask him if he's taken the body. You even say you'll go and fetch it yourself, as if you could carry such a dead weight on your own. How much we want to do the things our way when we feel out of control. In the next moment, just one word will turn history around for you. One word will divide your life into before and after. One single word spoken just for you in that familiar way Jesus always said your name, Mary. It's Easter time. Let's come back into the 21st century. You are not Salome, or Jesus' mother, or Mary Magdalene. You are the person God made you to be at this time in history. The risen Jesus knows you by name. He's gone through death, and he's gone through the worst of what man can do. And he's come out alive and well. How is your world different now?